In today's lesson, we are starting a new series for class 11. Lesson 1 is Introduction to Vectors. This lesson is also useful for students of class 9 because it's just introduction to vectors and is used in study of motion of particles. Today we will be covering scalars and vectors, that is what these quantities mean and what is the difference between these quantities. The position vector, the displacement vector, their meaning and find difference between the two. We will also talk in brief as to how scalars and vectors can be added. Detailed study of addition of vectors will form the content of next lecture in the series. Physics essentially is a science of measurements. The quantities which can be measured are called physical quantities. There's a very long list of physical quantities which we talk about in physics. Some of the quantities are mass, length, time, distance, speed, force, velocity, displacement, temperature, etc. They are all measurable and hence we term them as physical quantities. The classification of physical quantities. There are different ways of classification of physical quantities. In today's lesson, we will classify these physical quantities into scalars and vectors. Scalars are the physical quantities which are completely expressed in terms of their magnitude alone. There is no sense of direction associated with scalars. They are expressed just by a numerical value, that is algebraic value, along with the unit which is appropriate for that quantity. Examples are mass, length, time, distance, speed, temperature, etc. However, the magnitude of the scalar can be positive or negative as per certain standard convention which we adopt and define. We can add scalars or subtract scalars by simple algebraic rules. For example, 2 kg sugar plus 3 kg sugar will mean 5 kg sugar. We don't have to think about north, south, upward, downward, etc. Or subtract scalars by length 7 meter, take away 4 meter, you will be left with 3 meter length. So simple addition, subtraction works for scalars. Vectors, on the other hand, are physical quantities which need both a magnitude, that is a numerical value, and a direction for their complete specification. Examples of vectors are force, velocity, displacement, acceleration, etc. Symbolically, we will be representing vectors by bold and italicized letters. Here, V is bold and italicized. It represents a vector velocity. A represents acceleration. Capital A, capital B, S. S, for example, is generally a symbol we use for displacement vector. If it is not italicized, it will be distance. It will be representing distance. If it is italicized and bold, it will be representing the displacement vector. Likewise, F for force and so on. Why force is a vector? Force is a vector because its effect on a body can be completely known if we know both the direction in which the force is applied and the magnitude. Larger force, larger effect. However, the direction also alters the effect. As you can see, this is figure A. A force F is acting on a block along horizontal. This is figure B, and force of equal magnitude is acting on the same block but in a different direction. We know that the two forces, that is the one shown in figure A and the other shown in figure B, will produce different effects on the block. Hence, a force is known completely only if its magnitude and direction both are known. The effect of F on block is different in figure B than in figure A, as stated earlier, because they have different direction, indicating that force is a vector quantity. What is significance of direction? Let's consider the case of a particle present at some reference point, say O. We call this point O as origin. Now the particle moves away from this reference point O and covers a distance r in this plane in which we are writing. So we have the initial location of the particle O, and we know that it has covered a distance r. It is at a distance r from the point O. With this information, can we locate the final or present position of the particle? The obvious answer is a big no. For the purpose and elaboration, consider this diagram. The particle was at O, now it is at a distance r. Say it is at some point P, but P is not a unique point. P can be anywhere on the circumference of the circle. So if we don't have sense of direction, we cannot exactly locate the final position of the particle. The particle will clearly be at some point on the circle, as the sense of direction of motion is unknown. In order to locate the particle at its exact final position, additional information is required. This we will explain in the forthcoming section. Let us suppose we have a particle which is constrained to move along a straight line with respect to some point O. The line is defined. The motion towards right can be specified with a positive distance and towards left with a negative distance. Likewise, if there is a vertical line, the motion above, that is in upward direction, can be taken as positive distance, and below point the reference point O can be taken as negative distance. Suppose particle starts from O and moves along horizontal through plus 2.5 meter. That is plus 2.5 means right. We have to mark the final position of the particle. So original position is O. The distance covered is 0.5 meter. The final position can be spotted. The particle is at point P. This is marked in figure 2. Another example, a particle starts from O and moves along horizontal through minus 1.5 meter. Mark the final position of the particle. Again, we have the particle at O, but now it will be moving towards left because the distance is negative. So this distance has to be minus 1.5 meter. This final position is marked by the point P. Positive distance, negative distance. So if we know the distance from point O and the sign of the distance, we can exactly locate the position of the particle. So P can be located. This is a convention which you have always been using in mathematics. A system of coordinates, x coordinate, y coordinate. First quadrant, both x and y are positive because this is right of the reference O and origin. This is above the origin. So x positive, y positive, x negative, y positive. Here in this third quadrant we have both x and y negative. Likewise in this fourth quadrant x is positive and y is negative. Now we have a particle P or point P which is moving in a plane. The position of a particle P can be described by a unique ordered pair xy with respect to reference point O. This ordered pair, as said earlier, defines the unique position. See the diagram. P can be located with the help of this ordered pair. Distance x in x direction along x or along horizontal, y along vertical. So the ordered pair xy helps us identify the point P. A particle starts from point O and moves to P. The ordered pair associated with it is plus 2 meter, minus 1 meter. Mark the final position of the particle. You have to start from O plus 2 meter, that is in plus x direction, minus 1 meter, that is in minus y direction. So you reach this point which is unique. This defines the final position of the particle. Now let's join O to P. O to P. OP gives the position vector of point P. OP is the position vector defining position of point P. So position vector is a vector from initial position or the reference position to the final position. Exactly, we should say the reference position to the final position. The directed line segment from reference point to the final or present position gives the position vector of the point P. Another example, a particle starts from O and moves to P1. Now the ordered pair is minus 2 meter plus 1 meter. Mark the final position, minus 2 meter and plus 1 meter. The final position is P1. Position vector of P1 will be the line segment from O to P1. Let's draw it. Just have a close look here. O to P1. This is the position vector of point P1. OP1 is the position vector defining position of P1. There is another method by which we can identify a point P in a plane. For the purpose, we take a reference line. This is the original position of the particle or reference point. This is reference line. We can take only one line. Previously we have taken x direction and y direction. Now we are taking just one reference line passing through the origin. In order to locate P, we need two things again. The distance r of particle P from the origin. We need this distance r. This distance r should be known. Plus, we should also know angle theta, that is angle POX. Let's take this as x direction, POX. We should know angle theta or angle POX to define the position of the particle. So r theta defines the final position P of the particle. So we can identify the position by xy ordered pair or by r theta ordered pair in a plane. Theta can be positive or negative, and it indicates the direction of rotation. Positive sign with the angle implies anti-clockwise rotation. You can see here, this is anti-clockwise rotation. Therefore, the angle is taken as positive. Negative sign with angle signifies clockwise rotation. Clockwise rotation from the reference line, negative angle. So you can identify points with this such an ordered pair. R is 5 centimeter, theta is 30 degree, r is 4 centimeter, theta is minus 45 degree. We can use these ordered pairs or these numbers to locate the final positions of P or P dash of the particle. You may draw the diagram and mark the points P and P dash in your notebooks, leaving it as an exercise for you. So this is P dash. Let's now sum up, distinguish between the two kinds of quantities. All physical quantities that can be completely specified by an algebraic magnitude only are called scalars quantities or simply scalars. All quantities that need both a magnitude and a direction for their complete specification, they are known as vector quantities or vectors. Examples of scalars and vectors, please correct these spellings, SCALAR. Now this is interesting and will clearly explain the difference between the distance, which is a scalar quantity, and displacement, which is a vector quantity. A doctor advises a patient to walk 6 kilometers each day to stay fit. The distance here is a scalar quantity. 6 kilometers is a pure number. The distance has a magnitude 6 kilometers without any reference to the directions in a plane or in space. The meaning can be assigned through an algebraic magnitude only, and it signifies distance is a scalar quantity. Means the patient can go towards east, west in a zigzag manner, in a park, in a larger park, in a smaller park, may turn as he feels like. He is supposed to walk through a distance of 6 kilometers each day. Direction is immaterial. Such quantities, 6 kilometer distance, is a scalar. However, it will not help us locate the final position of the person. If the person covers 8 kilometers, it will mean he has covered additional plus 2 kilometers. And if he covers 4 kilometers, the difference will be minus 2 kilometers. It corresponds to an increase in magnitude or decrease in magnitude of the distance covered. Alternately, if the doctor asks the patient to get a medicine from a chemist shop 100 meters from the clinic, the direction east-west also has to be mentioned to enable the patient to locate the shop. If the doctor tells him, the patient, to go to a chemist shop 100 meters from the clinic, he will not be able to reach the chemist shop. So for the purpose, the shop to be located, a vector distance has to be given, that is 100 meters east. 100 meters east is a vector and we call it displacement. Only 100 meters will be distance. 100 meters east will be displacement because it is a vector quantity. A vector is thus specified completely only if it has a direction in addition to the magnitude. Graphical representation of a vector. A vector is represented by a directed line segment. The length represents magnitude of the vector on a suitable scale. We will elaborate using suitable examples. An arrowhead from initial to the terminal point gives the direction of the vector. Let's now illustrate the same with examples. Example 1. Represent a displacement of 5 meters east graphically. We are given that the displacement S is 500 meters east. Once again, let me remind you, S, bold italicized, is a vector quantity. It has magnitude 500 meters and direction east. In order to represent S graphically, let's take 100 meters represented by 1 centimeter. These are conventional directions for our reference. You already know these directions from your knowledge in geography. So 500 meters will be represented by 5 centimeters. OP equal to 5 centimeters. O is the starting point. This direction is east. The length should be 5 centimeters. So that on this scale it represents a displacement of 500 meters from point of origin towards east. So OP represents S, the displacement. Another example, represent a force of 2500 Newton at 47 degree north of east graphically. Again, choose a suitable scale. You are given the force F as 2500 Newton, 47 degree north of east. Let's assume that 500 Newton is represented by 1 centimeter. then 2500 Newton will be represented by 5 centimeter. This is reference line. The direction is 47 degree north of east. This is east. From east we have to turn 47 degree north. This is positive angle, so anti-clockwise direction towards north. Draw a segment OP with length 5 centimeter to represent the force F with a magnitude of 2500 Newton. Another example, represent a velocity of 0.6 mm per second at 27 degree south of west graphically. We are given that the velocity is 0.6 millimeter per second in the direction mentioned. In order to represent it graphically, let's again take a scale 0.1 millimeter per second represented by 1 centimeter. Then the velocity of 0.6 millimeter will be represented by 6 centimeter. In order to represent it graphically, we have to take an angle of 27 degree south of west. This is west, south of west. South of west, positive angle, again anti-clockwise direction, 27 degree. OP represents the velocity vector V. Recall, we are using bold italics to represent the vectors. The length of segment OP should be 6 centimeter. OP should be 6 centimeter to represent the particular given velocity of 0.6 millimeter per second in the direction mentioned. OP represents V. These are some problems which will help you recap what you have studied so far. They're on your screen. You can take a screenshot or read the same for you. You may try them later, or you can again revisit this lesson to see the problems. Name 4 physical quantities that can be specified without bringing in the concept of direction. Second, name 4 physical quantities that need both a magnitude and direction for their unambiguous specification. Third, how do we distinguish between speed of a particle moving towards right from another moving towards left? Here the hint is you don't have to write the speed because speed is a scalar. You have to mention the velocity. Velocity 10 meter per second right, velocity 10 meter per second left. This is how we can distinguish. Why do we say that a particle located in a plane can have an infinity of locations when only its distance from a given reference point called origin is known? We have discussed earlier in the lesson. Please try these problems. Position vector and displacement vector. Remember, the study of motion of a particle involves the understanding of fine difference between these two vectors. What is position vector, what is displacement vector, and what is the difference between the two vectors. Two vectors that we need very often to describe and analyze the motion of a particle are position vector and displacement vector. Let us understand the difference between these two terms one by one. Position vector. Let a particle be at some point O at the start of the motion. O is usually taken as origin. Not always, not essentially, but convenient to take the starting point as origin for describing motion. O is reference point or the origin or the starting point of the motion. Let the particle move over to some other point P over a time t. The directed line segment from O to P, that is the reference point, which in this case is also origin, to the final position represents the position vector of the particle. Wait for the illustrative example. So this is initial point, which in this case we have also taken as the reference point or the origin. OP gives the position vector. That is, it joins the reference point to the present position of the particle. So position vector of P is OP. Remember, the position vector is always defined with respect to some reference point. O in the previous case was the reference point. There's a word of caution: the reference point need not always be origin. It can be a different point. In the above example, some predefined point R may also be chosen as the reference point. Let's see in the diagram. Here we are not taking O as the reference. O is initial point or initial position. R is the reference point, and the particle moves from O to P. RO, that is, this is the reference point joined to the initial position, is the initial position vector of the particle. We represent it as PI, initial position vector. RO represents the initial position vector. RP represents the final position vector. Initial position vector, final position vector, initial point, final point. OP is the displacement vector S. OP is the displacement vector. So OP is the displacement vector in the diagram. Have a look at it again. Is initial position vector, PF is final position vector, S is the displacement vector. All are vectors. OP is called the displacement vector. It represents the displacement of the particle from initial position to the final position. The directed line segment from the previous position point to the present position point represents the displacement vector S. Let's see how vectors can be added. For scalars, we have seen the addition is simple, algebraic sum, and difference also is algebraic difference. You just have to add the numbers or subtract the numbers. For vectors, let's probe. We have observed a very close link between the concept of position vector and the displacement vector. The link is going to be very useful to understand the techniques and rules for addition and subtraction of vectors. The addition and subtraction of vectors is different from that of scalars. To appreciate the difference, let us subject a particle to two different displacements. First, S1, 4 meter east. Second displacement is S2, 3 meter north. Is the net displacement 7 meter as in case of scalars? Let us probe. Remember, a particle has been subjected to two displacements, 4 meter east and then 3 meter north. we have to find the net displacement. Vectors we know are represented by segments. So what we do is we choose a scale. 1 meter represented by 1 centimeter. The given displacements now will be represented by OA. OA is S1, 4 centimeter east, 3 centimeter north. 4 centimeter means 4 meters. 3 centimeter here means 3 meters. So particle was at O, subjected to first displacement, reached A, subjected to second displacement, reached B. What is the net displacement? Net displacement is OB, and from property of triangle we know OB is less than OA plus AB. That is the resultant or net effect of S1 plus S2 is less than 7 meters, not 7 meters. Had it been distances, the distance would have been 7 meter, but displacement is not 4 meter plus 3 meter or 7 meter. We know that we can apply Pythagoras theorem to get exact value of OB. 4 square plus 3 square root, OB is 5 meter. So here two displacements, 4 meter east and 3 meter north, add up to give us a net displacement of 5 meter in a certain direction. We can always find this direction. There are methods to find it. So vector addition is different from scalar addition. We have to follow different rules for adding the vectors. Just to introduce to you to the addition of vectors, different results we will get in different cases. Case 1 is very simple, vectors along same line. Here we have two possible sub cases. Vectors along same direction, same line, same direction. The resultant of vectors is equal to their sum in the direction of either of the two vectors. Why either? Because both are in same direction. Vectors in opposite direction. In this case, the resultant of two vectors is equal to their difference in the direction of larger of the two vectors. Illustrative example, two forces are acting on a body. F1 is 50 Newton, F2 is 35 Newton east. Calculate the net force. We have an object, and on this object or on this body two forces are acting. Magnitudes are different. F1 is 50 Newton represented by a longer arrow, and F2 is 35 Newton, shorter arrow. The directions are same, both east. Net force on the body will be 50 Newton east plus 35 Newton east, that is 85 Newton east. Another example, the forces F1 and F2 are 50 Newton north and 35 Newton south. We have to calculate the net force. We have a block subjected to two forces, F1 50 Newton north, F2 35 Newton south. We know that this is dominant force. F1 is dominant force. The net effect is difference of the two. So F1 vector, F2 vector. We don't get 85 in this case because This force F2 is in opposite direction. It has to be subtracted. Net force will be 15 Newton north in the direction of the larger force. That's all for the day. Subscribe to our YouTube channel CBSE 042 to get notifications about the further lessons. For the purpose, you have to open YouTube, search channel CBSE 042 and subscribe to it. You will be notified about the future classes well in time. Should you have any feedback, you may write to ikg54@yahoo.co.in. You may also visit our blog www.physicsbeacons.wordpress.com for more topics in physics. Wish you a very happy learning. Good luck. Thanks for watching. See you in the next lesson.